and welcome to this week's Wednesday Wandering with me, Cate Field. Wondering about stuff, not just wandering off. This is the podcast where we explore creativity, art, and the unexpected sparks that inspire us. I really hope you are well, and a huge welcome to you. So, have you ever stumbled upon something unexpected, like an old photograph or a forgotten letter, a rusted key on the beach, and felt a sudden rush of curiosity? Objects hold stories. Some we know, and others we can only imagine. And today I'm going to be exploring the theme of lost and found, and how memory and personal history and objects can become powerful sources of creative inspiration. So a few weeks ago, I wrote a little haiku. Old key found on beach. Rusted teeth. A locked secret. Time whispers its tale. So I found this tiny little key on the beach, and it became a kind of a portal for wandering. Who did it belong to? What did it unlock? And why was it there on the beach? And we can use these found moments to inspire our storytelling, our art, and our craft. And of course, writers and artists have long been fascinated by the idea that everyday objects hold echoes of the past. Perhaps the most famous literary example is Marcel Proust's Madeleine, and in his search of lost time. As Proust dips a madeleine cake into his tea, the taste unlocks a flood of childhood memories, transporting him back to his grandmother's home. And Proust's Madeleine moment in Search of Lost Time, which is À la recherche du temps perdu, is one of the most famous literary explorations of memory, and I absolutely love it. It's sort of memory, nostalgia, sensory experience. It appears in his first volume, Swan's Way, du côté de chez Swan, and serves as a gateway into the novel's central theme, which is the involuntary nature of memory and its power to transport us to the past. And what I'd like you to do is to just sort of picture this scene. So you've got a cup of tea and a madeleine cake. And the narrator, an adult looking back on his life, describes a moment when he dips the small madeleine cake into his cup of tea. And at first, the taste is ordinary and completely expected. But suddenly, he's overwhelmed by a wave of emotion and vivid memories from childhood. At the simple taste of the madeleine mixed with the tea unlocks an entire world of forgotten sensations from his youth and his childhood. And he writes, "No sooner had the warm liquid mixed with the crumbs touched my palate than a shudder ran through me, and I stopped, intent upon the extraordinary thing that was happening to me." This unexpected sensory experience leads him back to Sunday mornings in his childhood home in Combray, where his aunt Leonie would give him a madeleine soaked in tea. And what follows is this wonderful flood of memory, a feeling so intense that it restores the forgotten details with a kind of complete clarity. So why is the madeleine important? Well, we have this idea of involuntary versus voluntary memory. So Proust contrasts involuntary memory, which is triggered by a sensory experience of sort of sudden and immersive, with voluntary memory, which is a conscious effort to remember. And often, when we are consciously trying to remember something, it can be vague and incomplete, but the taste and the smell of the madeleine unlocks a total immersive recall of the past, something that he he thinks that he could have never have achieved by simply trying to remember it, and I think he's right. And this is the power of a sensory experience. And Proust suggests that the senses, taste and smell and sound, hold the key to memory in a way that just sort of logical thought can't. So a small, seemingly insignificant object, the madeleine, has the ability to revive a whole forgotten world, reinforcing how deeply sensory experiences shape our memories. And we can link this to time and the nature of nostalgia. So the novel's overarching theme is lost time and its recovery, and the madeleine moment proves that memories are never truly lost. They exist within us, just waiting for the right trigger to resurface. And this moment of remembrance serves as the inspiration for the entire 7-volume work, where the narrator reconstructs his life from memory. It's absolutely amazing. And now, the madeleine effect is a widely used term for any experience where a taste, scent, or other sensory trigger unlocks a deep emotional memory, and many writers and artists use this idea in their work, reinforcing how objects and sensory detail can shape our world. And poets too often write about this kind of found objects and scraps of letters, seashells, like me with my key on the beach. And we can turn them into metaphors for lost time, for nostalgia, or for change. One of my favourite poets, Seamus Heaney, in his poem The Graubarle Man, a preserved Iron Age body found in a bog in Denmark, it becomes an artefact of history, memory and mortality. And The Graubarle Man is one of Heaney's most haunting and evocative works. So it was inspired by the discovery of this preserved Iron Age bog body in Denmark. And the poem, which is part of his collection North from 1975, reflects his deep engagement with history, memory, and the connections between violence and sacrifice and the land. And the poem describes the remarkable preservation of the Graubarle Man, whose body remained intact for nearly 2,000 years due to the unique conditions of the bog. It is absolutely fascinating. So Heaney's language emphasises the contrast between the ancient past and the present, the right now, creating a meditation on time and mortality. He treats the body like a piece of art, likening it to polished leather, peat-stained fabric and sculptured clay. And the poem suggests that the body, once filled with life, has now become an object to be studied, mourned, and imagined upon. He's become something quite special, this Graubarle Man. He's believed to have been ritually sacrificed, his throat cut before being placed in the bog. And Heaney was writing during the time of the Troubles in Northern Ireland, and he draws parallels between this ancient act of ritual violence and the contemporary political violence of his own homeland. And the poem suggests that cycles of violence persist throughout history, linking past and present. And I absolutely love how he uses the words, because he has a use of rich tactile imagery. He makes the body tangible to the reader. He describes as if he had been poured in tar. He lies on a pillow of turf and seems to weep the black river of himself. The image of the body weeping a black river, it kind of suggests both the decomposition but also the sorrow, giving the poem a melancholic tone, and he uses earthly organic metaphors to describe the Grobala man, to describe his body, likening it to the cured wound opens it inwards, I'm just reading some notes here, to a dark elderberry place. This line suggests both the wound and nature, reinforcing the idea that the man's body has been absorbed by the earth itself. Now the poem, much like Heaney's broader work, explores how objects and landscapes hold historical weight. So he's not just describing the Grobal man as an artefact, but as something alive, something with meaning, a symbol of sacrifice, a symbol of loss, and the continuity of human experience. So how does this all relate to my thoughts on lost and found as a sort of an idea to inspire us? Well, I think the Grobal man exemplifies how found objects, so in this case the body, can unlock entire narratives of history and meaning. I think that the poem shows how something unearthed from the past can resonate to us in the present, and it serves as a literary example of how objects, I mean especially those tied to memory, can become symbols of a larger cultural and historical truth. And we can find meaning in the loss and in the lost. Memory is not always something that we hold. Sometimes it's what we lose. And artists and writers often explore themes of lost time, forgotten moments, the longing to retrieve something intangible. And I will come back, obviously, to my wonderful Virginia Woolf. And in her book To the Lighthouse, she reflects on the fleeting nature of memory. She writes, "What is the meaning of life? That was all. A simple question, one that tended to close in on one with years. The great revelation had never come. Instead, there were little daily miracles, illuminations, matches struck unexpectedly in the dark." Creativity often comes from these small illuminations, these moments when something lost is suddenly found again. And even if just in a fragment of thought, a dream or a piece of old lace tucked inside a book, we can draw on these memories. So let's finally think about noticing and remembering. So much of creativity is about noticing, paying attention to what is lost, what is found, or something that is half remembered. So as you go about your day, take a moment to look at the small, forgotten things around you. A chipped mug, a pressed flower in an old book, a button on its own. Where has it come from? Each one holds a world of possibilities. Join in the conversation. What's something small and forgotten that has inspired you? Share your thoughts in the comments or tag me in your own creative response. And until next time, keep creating, keep noticing, and keep finding stories in the everyday. Bye-bye.